All right. My name is Teresa Hichens Olson. I am the Director of College Access. Some of you know me really well because maybe this isn't your first student getting ready to go to college or starting their senior year. For some of you, you don't know me at all, and this is your first time meeting me, so welcome. And some of you are brand new to Great River, so I welcome you to this great community and family. And I I'm going to talk a little bit about how this night is going to go. I am going to go through the slides because there is so much information. I actually have dreams and nightmares that I don't get all the information to you. And thinking about that, that's what I wake up at 2 a.m. thinking about. So there's lots of little bits of the college process, and I want to make sure that is clear and accessible to everyone. If you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A. Lindsay's going to watch that. I'd like to introduce Lindsay. She is our Assistant Director of Special Education, and she will be supporting tonight. So as I said, my name is Teresa. I am the director, and I'm actually the founder of the college program. It did not exist at Great River. I am a Great River parent, and so I have had 2 students who graduated Great River, and I'm very proud of that. And I feel like this is one of my places that I want to invest a lot of my time and energy. I am a Bush Fellow for the state of Minnesota in equity in higher education. I also run my own college consulting firm, so I speak about this stuff and do this type of thing on a national level. And this summer, I found out that I was chosen by Bard College and Stanford University to represent public schools in the United States as far as access and looking at removing barriers to this college process. So what that means is that I join masters in the field in this area, and we kind of think tank it through and look at systems. And I live and breathe college admissions. And as you hear a lot about it in the news, it is an interesting topic with a lot of nuances. My approach to college and career access is a very holistic manner. I believe in education, that relationships matter. I work very hard to get to know your student. And I think one of my unique gifts is the ability to see not only who your students are now, but who they will be at 26 or 27 or even at 50, like the talents that they have and maybe the obstacles that they struggle with and how they could reinvent themselves. These are things that we talk about constantly in the college process, because I think as people, we are continually to evolving. And I love this thing called learning and education. And I want to pass on that love to other people in any way that I can. Our college program works really differently than lots of other ones. And I'm sure you will hear the difference from your friends, from your students, friends, and peers. We offer a lot of support. We offer workshops. We have panel discussions, and we are constantly evolving this program based on data. And there were some changes this year that I'll talk about. I am one college counselor, and I have 74 students right now on my caseload as seniors. 90% of last year went on to 4-year colleges. And if you went to the presentation in the spring, you heard that last year's class was awarded over $3.4 million. That will not go to debt. Those are grants and scholarships that they never have to pay back. Again, that's something I'm incredibly proud of, and I will continue to work just as hard for this class to reduce debt, because I don't believe we should have to even pay for education, honestly. So that's something I'm trying to totally get rid of. What tools does Great River offer? We have workshops that are happening on Wednesday. Hopefully your student came home last Wednesday and talked to you about that first college workshop. We also started our college visits last week, and that is something that I'll talk a little bit more about. I offer a fee waiver for applications Free and reduced lunch is the basic status for that, but if you have other obstacles for your family or your student, and I also am aware that not every student lives with their family, and everybody has a different story. So let me know what those obstacles are, and I will help you to the best of my ability. I have 3 meetings for families, 1 that junior year and 2 that senior year, and you can sign up for them they will come out via the conference times. What I try to do is have one in the beginning as you're at this process of trying to figure out how to best support your student. And then one at the end when you get all of those financial aid packages and you're trying to figure out what is the best choice. And so I keep both those times open. Here's where we're different. Out of those 72 students, I write a letter of rec for every single student at Great River. And I'm proud to say that I have done that all 8 years of this program. It is so that I can show how they learn, what their strengths are, and focus on the positives. And I think that is what has made a huge difference. We are currently ranked first in the country for college access when I submit all my data into NACAC, which is the national board. And I think it's because of that Great River kind of philosophy that relationships matter and we really get to know each other. I also supply ratings. So that means like GPAs, where your student is ranked as far as like class rank and mid-year reports and then final reports. I do transcript request forms. I ask that every student, and hopefully they've told you this, use the common application because that is how we are linked to different colleges. Some colleges are not on the common application, such as Winona State, Georgetown, Berkeley. But if they have a college that's not on the college application, they have to use a transcript request form. And that is located right outside my office. We have reference request forms that are both electronic and again, right outside my office. And one of the things that we're changing this year that students gave me feedback on last year is that they wanted the scholarship workshops sooner. So we will be having those in October instead of December. And we're gonna watch and see if there is an increase in scholarship applications. I would say our students are really good about it, but 80% of scholarships sit on the table unused. Again, we're using this common application. I will be setting up with students and have a meeting where I will show them all how to get on the Common App, how to create an account, how to add Great River as a school. And we're going to be going through that step by step. And that will be happening on the 12th of October. So just something, if you're writing things down, that would be a great thing to remind your student, but they'll be getting plenty of emails about it. We also have a Great River College Planning Facebook page. That is just a place where I can dump different information that I get, different opportunities. Some of it's scholarships, some of it's a lot of articles that I think would be helpful to parents. And so I just put that there as that comes in. I offer Schoology tools and updates as much as possible. Here's another thing that I think separates us from the pack. We have personalized college visits from all over the world. This year, I worked really hard to get some community college and trade school programs in there, and also some gap year programs, because I was hearing a lot about that. Again, I want to reiterate that it is unheard of in small charter schools to have Northwestern come. Dartmouth is coming this year for the first time in person. Chicago is coming this year for the first time in person. Schools like Middlebury, schools all across the country are flying here to meet your students. Why that is important. It is important for them to see the amazing kid that I see, to put a face with this application when they have 2,000 to 3,000 applications coming across their desk, and for them to see what a different type of school we are at Great River. I spend all summer working on this. How kids can see that list is on Schoolology. It is posted outside my office and on the SWEC room door, and it is constantly being updated. I'm constantly working to get the leaders in the country who are making these decisions about your students and offering them scholarships and money to actually meet the people behind the application. We also have graduate contacts who have gone before your student, and they love to share info. I had literally, you guys, 4 alumni stop in today to say hello. So they are really still invested in our program and helping support students to decide. I have connections outside of Great River, coaching lists, internships, program connections. And again, that scholarship board is constantly moving. I am updating that every couple of weeks, and it has scholarships from across the country on it. The role of college director, which would be me. What I do is I provide, again, those transcripts, mid-semester grades, write letters of recommendation, holistic career counseling, student advocacy and problem solving, building bridges from high school to higher education in that career center. I also work to support Zeth and mental health in making sure that students we're talking a lot this year about this difference between mastery and perfection. And I really believe in mastery, and I do not believe in perfection. So how to separate that and how to get those skills mastered before we go on to college, and also how to handle failure and all those wonderful things. Hopefully your kids are talking to you about those things that I talk to them about. There are, again, 74 students and one me. Workshops are essential. Your students should be coming to those Wednesday workshops. Again, I saved the slideshow, I put it on Schoolology, but nothing beats real working time. I'm really a huge advocate of this. Boundaries are important and essential. If your student needs to set up a meeting with me, they should be emailing me. That doesn't mean they can't talk to me in the halls, but if they're trying to set up meetings, they need to be starting to develop this professional muscle, and this professional muscle teaches them how to email and talk to a professor. And I'm always trying again to let them practice on me. So I'm showing them how to connect, how to write emails, how to say thank you, all of those things. I do set up individual meetings right away with those students who are planning to apply early decision, and we'll talk about that. Students are first in their family to go to college, and students with IEPs. Again, I'm a big believer in access, so I'm trying to make everything as equitable and accessible as I can. What I don't do is my ability is based on school hours and schedules. So I do my best not to answer emails on weekends and in the evenings. That doesn't mean I don't care if they've just seen a deadline. I want them to write to me, but I just want them to know that these are my hours that I'm available, and I'm not someone who is checking my email on Sunday afternoon, usually. I offer one-on-one continuous support. For example, that's not what I do for gen ed students, like a college coach or people outside. I offer those workshops, and there they can ask questions if they need to stay after and get one-on-one support. The workshops are the best way in which I can help get 72 students through the door, which is at basically the same time. So those workshops, those check-ins, those connections with college professionals, those are all things I'm doing. But if people are writing to meet with me 5 times a week, I just can't do that because it's not humanly possible. College sessions Wednesdays. You're going to hear me talk a lot about these Wednesdays because this is such an important tool. We had one last week. This Wednesday, September 28th, I will be speaking to all 12th and actually 11th graders about the first steps in the career world, how to approach your cast, also how to call in sick, all those things. So we're going to go all the way through that tomorrow. October 12th, we will be doing the Common App application, and it is linked to Great River. That is how we supply transcripts. And so they should be bringing a computer, or the school can provide them one if needed. The visits, we have, I believe, 5 visits this week. We had Cornell College this morning. We have the University of Minnesota Duluth tomorrow. The University of Twin Cities is coming this week. And your student should have that list. And if you're looking for that, I can also email that to you if you want that as a parent. All in-person visits are happening in that SWAC room, and all students are responsible if they've missed any class time for that. And so they have to have approval from their guide, and they're responsible for the work. Other support or things you should know, this next Wednesday, which is October 5th, there will be the Minnesota State College Fair. And that is a link right there. And your students also have that in their emails. And they can go visit. Hundreds of colleges will be there. And we will also have tons of people coming to Great River to do personalized small little visits. Guides are committed to writing letters of recommendations. The survey has been sent out to all seniors, and the paper form is outside of my office. And I have this wonderful note here about remembering your gratitude. One of the things that I want to address is teachers are not given time to write letters of rec. And so they are writing them on Saturday and Sunday, or after school, after they've already worked a 10-hour day. What I ask from your student is to do an act of kindness, whether that be staying with them and helping them put their chairs up after a long day, or bringing in a bar of chocolate, or writing them a note. I want people to learn what gratitude looks like. And I also think it's important to recognize when people aren't paid for the work that they do. And so that's another thing that we have done really good about. And also they're building that relationship for after Great River, or when they need letters of rec for other fellowships and scholarships, or reference for employment as well. Okay, here are your important dates. We begin those college workshops right on September 21st, so we have already started. Again, I have moved that up this year because we are going now at the college pace faster and faster. September through November are all those college visits. October 1st, the FAFSA opens, and will stay open until June, and the deadlines vary by college. I will send out a video that kind of goes over how to fill out the FAFSA. They are looking at your taxes from last year. It is a pretty straightforward form. We're going to go through this a little bit deeper on the slide. But again, I'm going to be sending that out. All colleges require the FAFSA. I also will be talking about later in the slide, not everybody has a social security number. I want to acknowledge that. Not everybody is documented or has citizenship. Most schools now are committed to meeting aid, even if the FAFSA isn't able to provide it. And I can help you work through those forms. And we have had students at Great River use those services. So please contact me if that is you or your family. The CSS profile is another financial form that is only required at certain schools. Well, Teresa, how do I know if my kid's college requires a CSS profile? One of the really simple things to do is Google that school and the CSS profile. And it will tell you St. Olaf requires the CSS profile. So that's one easy way. It also says it on the Common App. There are also lists that list all the colleges. And again, that is up on that college board. October 1st, along with workshops, Teresa has check-ins with students, again, applying early decision, first generations, and students with IEPs. That is when we're starting those meetings. November 1st is early decision. November 1st, along with workshops, will happen the early actions, students with 504s, and then general ed check-ins. December 1st is priority deadlines for some scholarships. December 15th, priority deadlines for most public universities, including the U of M. And December 30th, deadlines for regular decisions. And January 1st, deadlines for another regular decision, and January 15th, another deadline for those second round of early decisions, and then another regular decision. So if it seems like a Rubik's Cube, it is a Rubik's Cube. Here is the things to note. Some of you might note that on the application form, the U of M says it closes, I believe, January 1st. But what most people don't realize is the priority deadline is December 15th, and that is for scholarships. And so we really want to get those U of M applications in by December 15th. Lindsay, do we have any questions in the Q&A?
Right now, the only question in the Q&A is just, is there a possibility of getting a list of colleges visiting and the dates they're coming?
Yep. I mean, the student should have that in their email, but I can also, if that parent wants to email me, I can send that to them. I can also put it on Schoology. It is on Schoology, so if you log into Schoology, you can see it right in the college section. Okay. Is that all the questions?
Yep, that's it.
Gosh, you guys are quiet. Okay. Know the difference. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, for folks who are looking for the Q&A function, it might be under where it says more with the 3 dots in the bottom of your Zoom. If you click on that, there's a function that says Q&A, and you can type in your questions into that space.
Thank you. So this word that I use, this vocabulary of early decision is a binding agreement between colleges and/or universities. Usually, this is used for your dream school. When I talk about the landscape and how things have changed during COVID, this is a wonderful example. When my daughters were applying to school, about 30 to 40% of the class was filled with these early decision candidates. At this point, last year, it was between 60 to sometimes 75% of the class was filled with these early decision candidates. So these are schools that tend to be 20% and less admissions. Locally, those schools for us would be McAllister and Carleton. They are filling their schools with those early decision candidates. When your student receives an approval or an acceptance to a college for early decision, they must withdraw any application from any other college. The only thing that breaks this contract is financial reasons. So if you obviously don't have enough, there is not money to attend the school, the financial aid package isn't what you expected, it is impossible, it releases you from that agreement. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about early decision? I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Early action is getting the application in early and finding out your decision early. You can apply to as many early action schools as you would like. Many colleges have internal early scholarships. For example, if you get in your application by January 1st, I believe, to Augsburg, they give you $2,000 a year for applying. They call it the Early Augie Scholarship. However, a lot of times parents will push students to get that early action, and their application isn't ready. How do we know it's not ready, Teresa? Well, some students are showing themselves academically, and that muscle is growing. And so they need those first semester grades to show that they've gotten this muscle of getting work in, work completion, and they're really showcasing it that first semester of senior year. And so they would not be great candidates for early action because they need that information. Also, some students just may not have their essays and things as strong as they want. I can't stress this enough that just checking a box in college applications doesn't get you what you need, because just getting it done doesn't help you. You need to have a strong application from beginning to end, attend those workshops, make sure you have strong letters of rec, and work on that as much as possible so that, again, you can get some of those scholarships and acceptance. Rolling admissions is a first come, first serve and is non-binding. Admission is open until the classes are full. I had alumni students who were hit with COVID and just applied to school weeks ago. So those internal scholarships, though, may have various deadlines. So we work on those rolling admissions fairly soon. Again, coming back to this FAFSA federal form, it is given to students within the United States. So if you're planning to go overseas and start your education overseas, the FAFSA does not follow you generally. And what I encourage you to do is to apply for programs like at Bard College, where you apply to the school, but you could start your first semester in Berlin. So if you're wanting to start overseas, you can do that right away, and all your scholarships and funding follow you. If you don't have a social security number or you don't live with your parents, I can help you navigate that and also give you the forms. Hear me, hear me, hear me. You can still qualify for aid. That's my job. And that's what I'm constantly reading and learning about, how to remove some of those obstacles. The CSS profile is only required at some schools. Most of those are the 100% need colleges. So out of those 70 some students I had last year, 26 students got a full ride to college. That includes schools like Brown and Dartmouth, where everything was paid for. And so that is why we bring those schools here and hear what they can offer us, because we are trying to eliminate debt. And also sometimes those schools are a perfect fit for a GRS kid. They range, and they're not all that fancy and exclusive. St. Olaf is also a wonderful 100% need school right in Northfield. Teresa will be sending out videos to walk you through these forms. If you could do one thing for me now as parents and guardians, to read that book, How to Pay Wholesale for College, is written by a financial planner, cis white male, and doesn't talk a lot about diversity, but he really does know that college, those forms and how to report money. Scholarships, GRS students received over $3 million in scholarships last year. And again, 26 had a total full ride to college. I work hard to provide scholarships list every month. And students obviously need to make that effort and fill out those forms. Lindsay, is there another question in the Q&A?
Yeah, there's one question. When schools accept students' early decision or early action, to what extent do they also provide full financial aid information at the time of those acceptances? Is it possible that one gets accepted early but doesn't know their full financial aid status until significantly later?
Brilliant question. So some schools will give you an acceptance 2 to 3 weeks after you apply. They will let you know initially what the internal scholarship, so what they have offered you. And then they are still processing your FAFSA and financial aid. Most people do not find out their full application, full financial aid package until a couple months afterwards. What I encourage students to do is build what I call a scholarship sandwich. So you have those internal scholarships, you have financial aid, and then you have some external scholarships from foundations and businesses. So we're always working to make a great sandwich and get those things paid for. What can students be doing now? Use your tools. Again, I always joke and say I'm the biggest tool. So make sure you're using me and talking to me. Attend workshops, visit and various supports. Create a list of deadlines and work on balancing your time. I am fully aware that attending high school, especially as an IB diploma candidate, is tons of work, and you have this additional writing on top of that. I also am a big believer in balance and mental health. So knowing when those big deadlines are coming in, and what I ask from parents is look at those dates that I gave you. Don't plan big trips or big stressful situations during December 15th, honestly, and January 1st and that time. Also be the buffer for your kid. So a lot of the times in December, there's huge holiday gathering and every 40 people are asking them where they're going to be attending college. And hardly anyone knows at that period of time. So just saying that they have a plan or maybe they've applied early action, have one or two or haven't decided, that helps decrease the pressure for them. Creating a college list that meets specific needs is something the student can be doing now. Your financial need and opportunity. A good college list should always have a dream school, a safety school, and you should be looking at those admissions rates that match your profile as a student. Don't let that define you or keep you from applying for school. But if you have a list and every school in your list has a 10% or less acceptance rate, that's not a healthy list. So you want some diversity in that list, and you're making sure, again, you're not limiting yourself, but you also have some backup plans. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as I like to say. So explore that possibility. You can't know what you don't know. And so going to college, doing some college tours, even if you walk around McAllister and you don't want to apply to McAllister, walking around that campus and telling me what you like or don't like, taking a tour at Augsburg. We are lucky that you have access to those schools. Some people living in very rural places do not have that access. So use it and take a bus, go by yourself, go with a friend, go with your parents, but see what it feels like to be on a college campus. Be open to possibilities. And I really believe that the only doors we truly close, we shut for ourselves. I also believe that not everyone peaks in high school. And so I have been doing this job long enough now that I have seen students who have lower GPAs at Great River go on to have 4.0s in college and go on to do amazing things. And not that GPA doesn't determine anything besides just your number. And it doesn't say how hardworking you will be. Also, a lot of students have been going to Great River since the dawn of time, and they have been there for a long, long time. And college is the first place educationally where they get to reinvent themselves. And I'm a big believer that we can change our learning habits, the way that we learn. For the first time, your students really have choice in looking at different ways of schooling and picking what works best for them and looking at that. So we have colleges coming. We have one college that all the learning happens on a boat, and they travel around the Atlantic and they focus on biology and oceanography and doing all those types of things, and none of it is happening in a classroom. And you might have a student who really thrives in that kind of type of learning. So my job is to show them all the different types there are. What can caregivers be doing now? I would love it if you were reading that book. It's free on Kindle. Also, I have 2 or 3 copies in my office if you would like to borrow some. Gathering documents, you will use your tax form, completing the FAFSA and CSS. When are those due? So that is, again, not one strict deadline. They open on October 1st, but I don't want you to rush to get them done. This is something we can't walk back very easily. For example, I've had parents fill out their assets twice, and that is a very hard thing to walk back. So take your time to do that. When they are due are dependent upon what the deadlines are for that certain college. I would also say colleges are very gracious about this. They understand that you are also working, raising kids and doing all those things. They would rather you take time to do it and really get the most money you can. Do not rush to over-report. They are going basically by your taxes, and you should be showing them need and the debt that you have and working to get the best aid package possible. As far as your taxes coming up, if you're filing taxes, be ready to file earlier this year, as they will request your documents as soon as you have them. Show debt that may not show up on taxes, things like maybe you care for an aging parent, maybe time was cut on your pay because of COVID and the pandemic. Maybe your job is more insecure. Maybe you paid for your second child to get braces. Other things happen, house, all those things. Make sure you're showing any of that debt, because again, that will improve your financial aid package. Also, what parents might not understand is that college goes for 4 years, for four-year colleges. If you have two students who are overlapping, your aid package grows when both of them are in college. And one of the things that we can do and strategically is looking at moving some of those scholarships around when they're not both in college. Say there's 2 years when they overlap. So most people don't know that you can move some of that stuff around. It's a new world. So realize that this college process, some of us, just wrote 1 or 2 applications in our bedroom at night and sent them in and didn't think much about it. It is not the same game as when we were younger. And I would also say it's not the same game it was before the pandemic. And so things are rapidly changing as you are seeing articles upon articles about student debt, forgiveness programs, all of those things. It is why I love it and why I also hate it, is that information is constantly developing, and I'm working my best to be a master of that and learn as much as possible. Find balance in this college process, look at dates and deadlines as a family, but don't pressure. Make sure that you're asking about it, but you're not asking 15 times a week about it. Reinvention. Every student should have the opportunity to reinvent themselves, both academically and socially. We get to practice this thing called adulting. We don't magically come out of the egg adults. I'm a big believer that your student should be able to practice that. And sometimes that includes failure. Not all of us, again, peaked in high school. Not all of us are made for certain learning environments. So this ability to let them show you and let them grow those muscles is a wonderful gift you give them as parents when you allow them to do that. Check in, but let students have ownership of this process. I can't reiterate enough that if you force a student to do a certain path or attend a certain college, I have never in my 7 to 8 years in this seen it work out. If students don't feel invested, they don't know what they are invested in, right? So they don't give their time and energy for what they don't feel connected to. And so give them the opportunity to feel connected to things. In that, I would also offer that some of us have avoidance behavior, and that's something that we talk a lot about in the senior process. A lot of that is tied with perfection. A lot of that is tied with not being able to separate your accomplishments from your worth. And so that's something that we talk about when people are avoiding things. What are they really scared of? And so if there's things that you feel like your student is avoiding, or you don't feel like they're working on things they should be, reach out to me or have a check-in and see what's happening beneath that. Lindsay, do we have another question? I just saw one pop up.
Yes, we have 2 questions that you can talk about. First, could you put the name of the recommended finance book in the chat or send it out in an email?
Yeah, it's How to Pay Wholesale for College, Lindsay. Maybe you can look up the link.
Yep, I can put a link in the chat. How to Pay Wholesale for College. The second question is clarification on early decision. Is this an okay time for that question, or do you want to hold that?
Sure. Just throw it.
Sure. So for early decision, if the question is if we have to turn down any other offers, doesn't it seem like we might be closing off other offers before we know what the financial aid is? Yeah. I'm still confused how this works, and it seems scary to close down other options.
Yeah.
Um,
And that is why when we look at early decision, we look at schools that meet 100% need. And I'm not going to say it's not scary, but we aren't putting all our eggs in one basket. So a student isn't applying just to early decision and then not doing any other applications. And I want to be clear about that. A student could do an early decision and then put in applications for early actions. And then they are going to see some of that because they're all going to come out relatively at the same time. What they don't want, they want with early decisions, students who love their school, who are committed to their school and want to attend there. So that's what they're looking for. I agree that there have been thousands of articles about how that sets up certain types of students. Again, it's about access, and it does increase your chances. Hopefully that answered that question, but feel free to email me if it didn't. What are the parts of a college application? The student info, the comment application essay, supplement essays, an interview sometimes, and a visit online or in person. Some really freaky things, you guys, is that some colleges really check this demonstrated interest, and they can tell if your student has opened an email or not. So I always tell them, if it's one of your top 5 schools, make sure you're opening those emails. They can't see how much you're reading it, but they are checking to see that demonstrated interest. Also, if that college is coming to Great River and you don't attend that visit, that says a lot to that college. So make sure you're checking the list. It's a lot of writing, people. So a lot of parents get fixated on that common app essay, and it's such a small part of the whole application process. Those supplement essays can sometimes count more, and they can sometimes be longer than even that common app essay. Financial forms, I think I've said a lot about financial forms. FAFSA, CSS profile, custodial waiver. So if you live with just one parent or a custodial guardian, and another parent, birth parent doesn't financially contribute, we can do what's called a custodial waiver, and I can walk you through that. The Minnesota DREAM Act is for non-documented students, and those are separate forms, again, that I can walk you through. Our school forms, so this is all in an application. Isn't it crazy? It's like a small novel. A transcript up to your junior year is the first thing that schools are looking at. So make sure if you haven't seen your transcript, you are looking at it, you are seeing what the grades are, and that if you've taken any PSAO classes or online classes, those are included in the transcript you are receiving. They will see your first quarter grades. So in December, I take a snapshot of everybody's grades. I send them to colleges. They will also get in January your mid-year report. They will get a student eval from me as your counselor. What IB classes, if you're taking IB classes, and your diploma and all those things. The counselor letter of rec they will get from me, and then letters of rec from 1 to 2 guides. And the student needs to pick that. And then at the end, while all of you all are enjoying your summer, I am filling out 72 final reports and sending them to colleges. And that is your end of year transcript and your end of year ratings. I will say one thing about those end of year grades, they matter. We almost had one student lose their full ride this year because their grades went down that second semester of senior year. So really work hard to make sure that doesn't happen. And everybody struggles, right? We're all real people. So if you feel that happening, come talk to me so I can work on getting you support. What other things do we offer? You heard a lot of talk about these 4-year colleges. I'm not gonna lie, that's what I do. So, but we also offer support in this community college, trade school. Great River is signed up for the Power of You program for MCTC and St. Paul College, which means doesn't matter what your grades are, All it matters is that you graduate Great River, and if your family's income is under $75,000 a year, you are eligible for 2 years of college free, and that can grow into a 4-year if you want it, but you can take any major you want at 2 of those community colleges. We also offer transition programs and insight internships where you are paid to do that work. Community actions and service hours are built into DRS so that students can try on different jobs. We talk a lot about trying on different types of, like it was different clothing or outfits and seeing what fits for you. Sometimes what you think is going to fit doesn't look as good as it does in your head, and the opposite is true as well. CAS is a required part of graduation, which is, we are actually very lucky because that means that gives us a lot of opportunity to look at different types of deals. We have connections to tech and trade programs as well. Gap years. GRS offers support with gap year fairs and giving you information on that. How to write a gap year plan. What I usually suggest is that students apply to a school, find out what the financial aid is, and then they can defer for a year. And we've had that happen lots, and take that gap year and have a gap year plan. Counseling on what to do at a gap year. So if you take a gap year and it changes everything you want to do, even though you have graduated from Great River, you can still come back and ask me questions, and I can try my best to support you. Connection to Rotary programs. We've had a lot of students do the federal Rotary program, which is a paid gap year program to different countries around the world. Now, what do I do? So if you're wondering what to do after this, is visit schools, make lists of what feels good and what doesn't appeal to you in a college. Pay attention to how you feel in different learning environments. Do you like being in physics class? Do you enjoy ceramics class more than anything else? Are you wanting to be outdoors, taking water samples all day long? What are things you want to be doing? Use the college tools at school, talk to current classmates, but also seniors who have graduated. Use that board outside of my office. Make a rough plan, look at deadlines, map out workload. Not everything is due at the same time. Every student has their own personal Rubik's Cube. If you did the UA, you can EE as part of your diploma. That should fall into your interest, and you can list that in your activities. Work as a family, not to plan vacations during the biggest of these deadlines. And this was another panel Zoom that we'll have at the end of March, featuring students and how they made their decisions. So I am going to put together people from last year who had to decide about college and what did that look like, and parents who had to support and what did that look like, because I really believe we can learn from each other. Notice COVID has changed so many things, how college has responded, and what student support looks like on campus, and pay attention to that. Colleges do their best to understand, but it's also our job to explain any gaps or passes or not taking certain classes. So we never ignore the white elephant in the room. So if your grades dropped a certain semester, we have to explain that, and we try to turn all negatives into a positive. We're going to have an open question time. So if you have questions you want to type in the next 8 minutes that we have, feel free to do that. Here's my email. There's also the common application people can look on over in the College Board, fly-in programs. If you don't have the resources to fly to certain schools, a lot of schools offer fly-in programs. I would also say that some schools have a partnership specifically with Great River, that students who are accepted, they'll pay for your plane ticket to come out and see that. Earlham College is a great example of that. So.
There's one question in the chat, Teresa, that says, once you're accepted, does it matter if you get the IB diploma?
I have had people drop the IB diploma I have to explain why. So it could make a difference to a certain school depending on how much weight they gave it. The way that it works in college ranking is the ID diploma is the most rigorous academic path you can take. AP is second. So AP scholars, which we don't offer, is second. Third is honors classes. Fourth is PSEO. And then fifth is that general ed. So even if you don't do the IB diploma, but you have lots of IB classes, that works incredibly well in your favor because you're doing the most rigorous thing, which means they rank you. So you get the highest number. So those are things that are not everything, but important in that application.
Great. Another question that came in earlier, do both parents and students have access to the Schoology list of colleges that are coming?
Yeah, they should. And I keep hearing that. So I'll make sure that you have that link when they send out the video tomorrow. The one note I will make about school visits, I tell the students this is a living, breathing document. So it changes all the time. Like schools say, oh, can I move my time to this? Or schools add all the time. So know that. And your student should always be checking the list outside the door because that's the most up to date.
Great, that's all the questions that we have right now, but we still have 6 minutes. If anyone wants to add any more questions into that Q&A. Where is the Minnesota College Fair on October 5th?
It's the convention center. And actually, I'm gonna see if I can pull up the college list for that, just because that's such a good question.
Great. Teresa, while you're looking for that, how would a student find the letter of recommendation Google form?
So it's sent to them in their email. There's also a paper version outside of my office.
Okay.
But look at me go, Lens. I'm gonna do this right now. Can you see that?
Yep.
So this is how Teresa spent her summer. So Colby has been there. Cornell came today. Tomorrow, Duluth will come. Davidson will come on the 28th. Eau Claire, University of Minnesota, Morris. Again, you can see the students who have access to it because their little name will pop up as they're using it. The Twin Cities, Clark University is doing a virtual. Dartmouth, Grinnell, Elzar School, which is a gap year program, will come on October 4th. The Minnesota College Fair is October 5th, and those are your times. I'm just going to go through all of them, you guys. Whitman, University of Chicago, Pitzer, Mount Holyoke, Lewis and Clark, Sonoma, Bowdoin, Smith, Lawrence, NYU. Again, other schools are not seeing these people, but we are, so we're really lucky. American, Bates, Occidental, Bucknell, University of Redlands, which is in California, Knox College, Overland, Kenyon, Bryn Mawr, Northwestern, University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, which has an amazing fisheries program if you're interested in that. Bard College, Reed College, Brown University, McAllister, Beloit, St. Olaf, Emerson, College of the Atlantic, which is the boat college, Dunwoody. And for those Carls out there that do not see Carleton, I'm waiting for them to get an admissions person, and they do not have a Minnesota rep yet. And as soon as they do, I will make sure that Carleton is represented.
Great. A few questions have come in about the college fair.
Yeah.
Are students assigned a time to the college fair, and is there transportation, or do parents transport their own children?
We do not have school that day. So students would have to find a way to get there. I have encouraged them to talk to other students who are going or other families. So there is no school provided transportation, and they have all been sent a link to register.
Okay, great. And for families who are celebrating Yom Kippur on the 5th, they could also go on the 6th and just, would that be an excused absence from school?
It is 9 to 12. Any college, if you're visiting a college and you show Holly that you visited a college, that is an excused absence, even not on a holiday, just so you know. That's a legal obligation by a school.
Great. Thank you very much for that. A question about how much time do teachers need to write a letter of recommendation?
We give them at least 3 to 4 weeks, just because of we have more students than we have teachers.
Great.
If you find you need one that you didn't know you needed, you can talk to me first, and that can happen, but we try to be as respectful as their time as we can.
Great. Is Gustavus planning to come at all to Great River on any of these days?
Great question. So I talked to him about that, and he could only come in the spring. And so he is setting up for next year to be able to come during this time. But for some reason, the reason I don't do all year visits is your student would never be in class. And so we do that October, November, so that they can still concentrate on their schoolwork as well.
Okay, and same question for Augsburg.
Augsburg doesn't usually do visits to us because I think they're so close, but
that we could just easily go. Great. And one last question. And any other questions can be sent via email for responses too. But any suggestions about what to ask colleges about how they ensure their students have access to reproductive health care?
Oh, great question. I love this question. So yeah, you are talking to the student support. So reproductive care, but also mental health, right? So in career and all of those things that really make a difference between one college to another. So I am trying to teach students how to ask those hard questions when they visit, but also when you're doing a college visit, make time in each of those centers for an appointment, especially if your student has an IEP or a 504. All IEPs become 504s in college. Colleges are obligated to pay for those services. But just like in high school, every student support center varies on how they give support. There are schools that are better at giving support for a student who has autism, who might be differently abled or dyslexia. So really either talk to me about it or look at research, Google is your best friend, or ask the rep when they visit about those support systems.
Great. I think that's all the questions we have for tonight.
Okay.
And the link to that book that we had looked up before, there isn't a way for us to send a chat to the whole group that's here tonight, but we can send it out over email.
Okay, I can do that. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. We appreciate you, and thanks for making time tonight.
Bye. Thanks everybody. Good luck this year.